Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's still the open line. I'm taking your calls on 086 000 2032, the WhatsApp voice note line. You can send those voice notes and messages on the voice notes 0614 104 107. Mbowana, you're in Mafikeng. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yes, I want to speak about Zimbabwe want to compensate the white farmers, whatever, for land. That is totally wrong, because you cannot compensate someone for something that he took wrongly from you. The Zimbabwean president needs to build the country, not to compensate the farmers. Because as Mugabe was already sorted that problem out. So it's up to the Zimbabweans to fix their country, not to compensate. Because that's going to bring a bad example to us. We are fighting for land here, and then Zimbabwe is busy compensating the farmers. That will be not good idea. Because why? The land should be nationalized. The land is supposed to belong to the country, to the government, not individuals. Because what you're gonna do with the future children, that's gonna burn.
So Mbowana, my understanding of that process is that what the government actually wants to do is that they want to give the farmers compensation for improvements that they had made to the land. And this was before they were evicted.
What the farmers should do, the farmers should go back to Zimbabwe and start farming, but in the condition of the land is belong to the government, not theirs. If they don't want that, then there's no compensation.
Yeah, but Mbona, I don't think what you're saying is fundamentally different from what the Zimbabwean government is wanting to do. Of course, the country now is suffering from the effects of its farming operations, being decimated by this the exit of so many commercial farmers. I think on the one hand, they're also trying to see how to incentivize some of the farmers to come back into the country. Zimbabwe at some point was known as the breadbasket of this continent, and that, of course, has changed quite significantly. But what they're compensating them for is what they would have spent in the form of implements and getting those farms up and running, at least to be commercially competitive.
The question then will be, if the Zimbabwean government are busy suffering now, where are they going to get the money to compensate this?
Well,
that will be the big question.
Yeah.
Why don't you use the same funds to sort out the country's problem than to compensate the people that are not willing to come back to the table and fix the problem of what is there?
Yeah, look, I don't know, Mbowana, and when I look at some of the farmers that are part of this initiative, it would also be farmers who were from countries including Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands. So clearly, one would imagine that there's also the issue of a broader fallout that the country is trying to manage, international or global fallout that the country may be trying to manage with these other countries whose citizens were also affected by this.
Yeah, let's hope and see this will be sorted out. But this should be the example to all the African continent, because they are in the same problem all over. Thank you, sister.
Okay, all right, Mbowana. Mbowana out in Mafikeng. Matkwaiha Ayachubana, good morning. You're in Ayachubana. But Lebo, you wrote Ayachubana. Awa.
Good morning,
Makwekha,
Cathy.
good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning, Cathy. Let me just go straight because my time is not on my side. Cathy, I really don't know when government is going to listen to people. When the people start to complaining about something is happening and the government must act quickly. You know why I'm making this statement? Because I was the victim of those taxi, what so-called taxi patrollers and what so-called taxi owners, where if you have an Avanza or if you have loads of people on your car, they will stop you, they will drain you, those people, and then they will tell you you must go to their ranks, and then you must pay 1.5. And then on top of that, they will take you as they will act like they are the traffics. You can see if the traffics, they catch the driver with the warrant, they will take that driver and put the driver in the car of the cops, and then the cops will drive the car, your car. Now my problem is, what if something happened while that person is driving my car? What if something happened on my car? Who's going to pay for that? And then I'm asking, are those people allow themselves or they are taking the chances? Because they are victimizing especially black people. I never saw that on colored area. I never saw that on colored owners. They don't do that. It's only the blacks. Why government can't act while the people are starting to cry? Because even the extortion, people were crying.
Sure.
It's out of hands. The extortion is out of hands. Now government try to sort it out. Why government? Last time I was complaining about the bus stop where I'm working nearly in Cape Town near Butcher's Quarry. The taxi will park there. 3 of the taxis, they will park there. And then when we try to catch the bus will pass because there is no space. Those people are just standing wherever they like.
It's bullying and intimidation, Makwekha, at its worst. And unfortunately, the complaints around it are increasing. But as he's saying, it doesn't seem that much is being done to actually deal with it. It's time for
Cathy, Cathy, you buy your own car and then thinking, okay, many of my family are not working. When I'm going down to Eastern Cape, I can take those people and put it in my car and drove. But instead, on your road to Eastern Cape, they will stop you and ask you, where is the paper for those people? How many traffic calls must we have on the road?
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd, Makwekha. Absolutely absurd. But we don't also see the industry doing enough to take steps against it. The police also enable it, because who do you call when you're facing that level of harassment and bullying? We're going to have to leave it there, Makwekha. It's time for the latest news update.
In our top stories, crime analysts sees performance improvement in South Africa's crime intelligence, and municipalities owing Eskom to be summoned to Parliament. Good morning. Crime and violence analyst Dr. Chris de Kock believes South Africa's crime intelligence has improved in the past year. He was reacting to the arrests of 4 more suspects in connection with the murders of 18 people in Ngobazana village in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape last month. The arrests were made in Port Shepstone in KwaZulu-Natal yesterday morning. The first suspect to be arrested in the matter abandoned his bail application in court on Tuesday. De Kock says the rise in swift arrests indicates police are infiltrating criminal syndicates.
I don't want to be too optimistic, but it seems there's a change and that we see significant arrests, and we sometimes see arrests very quickly after incident, like Lusikisiki now. But I think also one must remember the police were under tremendous pressure to have some arrests because this was such a bad incident. But I think crime intelligence is starting to get their act together.
The chairperson of the Road Accident Fund, RAF Board, Lorraine Francois, says they found duplicate payments valued at more than R1 billion. The board and executives of RAF appeared before Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts yesterday. The issues the committee is dealing with include amending legislation related to the RAF's accounting policy and financial performance. Francois says they are working with the Auditor General and the Special Investigating Unit in dealing with many issues at the entity.
We continue to cooperate with the SIU chairperson, and together we have collected about 1.2 billion of duplicate payments. Some of the challenges that we pick up on the system when the board was starting with its turnaround strategy. And we will continue making sure that this organization is stable.
The 21 learners from the Mahagi Secondary School near Bronkhorstspruit in Mpumalanga have been discharged from hospital following a case of suspected food poisoning. The learners ate acha bought from a vendor outside the school premises. The Provincial Education Department spokesperson, Gerald Sambo, says they will dispatch healthcare practitioners to the school today to monitor the children. He says they are waiting for results of tests from the health department to establish whether or not the food contained poison.
We'll continue to monitor the situation very closely in terms of making sure that there is, healthcare practitioners who will be at the school to further check the learners and make sure that they support them in every way possible up until we are satisfied that they are indeed healed from what they were suffering from yesterday.
Government has the responsibility to ensure municipalities pay debt they owe to Eskom. This according to the chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations, Musi Maimane. He says municipalities owe the power utility 85 billion rand, a figure which is projected to reach 200 billion rand by 2028. The National Treasury has also projected Eskom bailouts will reach 496 billion rand by the 2025-2026 financial year. Maimane says the committee will summon municipalities to Parliament.
We're summoning to Parliament the top 14 municipalities that are not paying to understand how, in fact, we can be able to ensure that there's compliance in payment. We also have to, over a broader scale as a country, make sure that we've got citizens who are able to find work to be able to purchase electricity. Because right now, there are citizens who would say they're not experiencing load shedding, and then there are others who are self-imposing load shedding because they just financially are not able to cope.
And finally, Amazon has announced significant investment in nuclear power to meet its growing energy demands for cloud computing and artificial intelligence. The company has joined other tech giants in turning to atomic energy. The BBC's David Waddell reports.
Amazon signed 3 agreements to support the development of small modular reactors, known as SMRs. They're more compact, cheaper and potentially easier to deploy than traditional nuclear reactors. Amazon Web Services, the most profitable wing of the world's 5th biggest company, has a huge need for clean energy as it expands into generative AI. Amazon's leading a $500 million funding round for X-Energy Reactor, a company that develops SMRs and fuel. The announcement's the latest in a series of recent declarations of partnerships between tech companies and nuclear power that includes both Google and Microsoft.
Recapping the top story, crime and violence analyst Dr. Chris de Kock believes South Africa's crime intelligence has improved in the past year. He was reacting to the arrests of former suspects in connection with the murders of 18 people in Ngobazana village in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape last month. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we'll be getting into our Municipal Watch feature. And today, we're focusing on the KwaDukuza municipality, the local municipality, and it is one of those where the ANC is recalling its mayor. Of course, the ANC not having an outright majority in the council was able to establish a government with the support of the DA. However, we see that part of the political, what do we call it? Is it political wrestling? Part of the political wrestling that took place and unfolded in Tshwane may be spilling over into the Kwaduguza municipality because the DA says based on what happened in Tshwane, they will not be supporting the ANC's efforts in Kwaduguza. So we'll find out exactly what has happened there, why they want to get rid of the mayor, but also what is the state of service delivery. You'll be hearing from the various political parties and also the organization representing residents and ratepayers. All of that coming up in the next hour. For now, though, let's reflect on some of your voice notes from the open line.
Good morning, Cathy. This is Tamik Bega from Freyhead in KZN. Well, the exit of Busisiwe Mkhwebane is not surprising. No one is gonna last there at the EFF Stockfell because EFF is no different to Inkatha, UDM, Hope. It's a one-man show. And Mr. Open Borders.
Good morning, Cathy. This is Umzimela Etutuza. With regard to Busisiwe Mkhwebane, I knew she was not going to make it in politics. Number one, she doesn't bring any membership with her to any political party. Number two, Zuma and Malema were only using her because she was in office with regard to their cases and try to spin things around. Unfortunately, she failed dismally in courts. So they are done using her. I mean, like Zuma uses people, and when he's done with you, he's done with you. It's just like Kalni House. Kalni House also doesn't bring any membership. That is why he doesn't even care about him, because he would have long recruited him to go and join this party of his. But because they're both, he's done with using them.
Good day, Sis Katie. It's Kulani here from Durban. Sis Katie, as long as DA is frustrated, they should just rename the streets. So that as long as they are frustrated, anything that frustrates the DA, they should just go for it. They let them change the name. As long as the DA will be frustrated, change the name.
Morning, Keith. Well, you are busy changing names. You are hungry. There's too much crime. We're dying. We've got no water in rural areas, no roads, no bridges, unemployment. This list is endless. 30 cities, just because you want to win votes for 2029. I don't care whether you change names and call them Thabo Bester or Miles Budu, but I'm hungry. Thank you, Kathy.
Good morning, Cathy. I don't know why we must put more energy in renaming the street, renaming everything, instead of developing the city and the street of Joburg City, because the Joburg City has been reduced to squatter camp. We need development there. Joburg is no longer the same. It's now defunct. It's an embarrassment. It's no longer the Joburg that we know is economic hub of this country. So it is no longer Limpopo.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, ukovela panda. SABC2.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The Rockets say before the sun sets in Mpumalanga, they will march out of the battlefield with a VIP access to the quarterfinals. However, the Chili Boys are not shaken. They want joy for the Eastern Cape citizens. This is the second edition of the Carlin Knockout Cup Round of 16. Fagukesi! Catch TS Galaxy FC versus Chipa United FC this Sunday, 20 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone. Always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. The Viewpoint on SAFM.
What is biomuti?
Combination of biotech and umuti, which is isiZulu for medicine, basically. Biotech is biotechnology. Your ability to take a natural product and put it through, say, for example,
aloe. Let's talk about aloe.
Take aloe. You take aloe, you process that aloe. On the other side, you have an aloe gel. That whole process is called biotech. You take umhlonyani and you process that umhlonyani in a means of an extraction. And that extraction could mean also just you making tea out of it. That's biotech.
Tebogo Tlhopane, founder of Biomuti, a company blending African medicinal plants and modern science to create health solutions based on traditional knowledge.
Tuesday Takeover on The Viewpoint. Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Or some controversy unfolding in the Kwadukuza local municipality, where the ANC has recalled its mayor, Lindy Nhaka, who is reportedly refusing to leave. Her party is planning a vote of no confidence. Reports also indicating that political parties represented there are planning on bringing a motion of no confidence against the speaker, Dolly Govender. This particular move seems to be driven by the Democratic Alliance. Well, let's get a sense of what is happening in that particular municipality. Joining us on the line this morning, Mongezi Twala is the EFF provincial chairperson in KZN. Mongezi, good morning.
Thanks for having us, and good morning to all the viewers of SAFM across the country.
Zwakhele Ngwango is the Action SA KZN provincial chairperson. Zwakhele, good morning.
Morning to you, Cathy, and morning to listeners of SAFM and my brother there, Utwala.
Ste Ngema is the DA KZN deputy leader. Ste, good morning.
Good morning to you, Kate, and my brother Twala across, and also the members of other political parties online.
Dion Fulyoon is the chairperson of the Dolphin Coast Residents and Ratepayers Association. He'll also be joining this conversation. Dion, are you already on the line? Good morning. All right, Dion will join the conversation a little later on. And of course, we did also extend the invite to the ANC. They declined to come on. So let's maybe begin with just getting a sense of what has been happening in the Kwaduguza municipality. Maybe Mongezi, I introduced you first, so let me give you the first opportunity, at least from your party's point of view.
No, thanks, Cathy. The reports that we get from our councillors and the community of Kwaduguza at large, that the municipality is slowly becoming dysfunctional. For one reason of political instability in the municipality, of political office bearers hell-bent on clinging into power, desperate to run the municipality without the blessings of their own political parties, who are now holding the municipality at ransom. We know that Kwaduguza play a significant role in ensuring that the economy of KZN is vibrant. I mean, the community members of Palito were expecting services from this municipality. As I'm speaking, I'm in Tabazimbi after the municipality was dissolved. So this is exactly what is happening in Kwaduguza. If we don't come close as political parties and zoom into that municipality, fix all the issues that the municipality is faced with, we are going to have one of many dysfunctional municipalities in KZN. We have since received a report from National Cocta that a number of municipalities in KZN, this is not the only situation where Kwaduguza is faced with. A number of municipalities in KZN, they are dysfunctional for one reason of political instability, on the desperation of political office bearers to self-enrich or run the municipality as if they are running their spaza shops. So that is the report that we got from our councillors and the community members at large.
Zwakele?
Yeah, Cathy, thank you again. Cathy, I agree with Twala. The municipality currently is dysfunctional, and I did engage with our councillors as well. But what I'm getting in the main, the major problem with the municipality is leadership, in terms of political leadership, if I can be exact. In this way, the municipality lost the deputy mayor in 2023, which is a year ago. They haven't replaced the deputy mayor. Then you've got a problem with the mayor. Then the mayor is now absent due to the fact that the ANC have these internal factions and challenges. They can't even replace their own mayor. Now, I'm just really shocked that the ANC will decline to come in account when given opportunity and explain what is going on there, because as politicians, we must be able to come in account to the public. But what is more concerning, Cathy, is the fact that it's not only the ANC that is the problem there. The DA as well. You've got 10 ESCOM members. A civil commission KZN is formed by different parties. Now, from the 29th of May, one of the DA councillors from ESCO was elected to legislature. Till to date, due to, again, internal faction within the DA, they are unable to replace that person on ESCO. So meaning the 10 members of ESCO, you've got 3 members down, 2 from the ANC, 1 from the DA, only 7 members are now there on ESCO. So there's a bigger problem. As I'm saying, it's not only the ANC problem, it's a bigger problem that Metro in that municipality, because you'd expect that the executive committee is responsible of running the municipality on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you've got 3 members that are missing on such an important structure, then how you expect the officials to really be accounting to who? Because there's a big vacuum of leadership in that municipality. But Twala is correct. It's not the only municipality. If I make an example, King Pejwayo, till to date, after election, they have never replaced the mayor. So you've got the MM who left the mayor, who now is the premier, and then after 3 months, the MM was working as chief of staff in the mayor's office, in the premier's office. Only this month is going back as the MM again. How to call that? For 3 months, you leave the municipality, you work in premier's office, then you go back after 3 months. So it's more like it's a sponsor shop. You can do as you please. So it's an issue of political leadership, Cathy, which we believe that it's unfair to the residents of Wat Duguza, for example, and KZN as a whole, because as Tola is correct saying, Wat Duguza is one of the municipalities after eThekwini that contribute on our GDP in the province. So we hope that as Bokar Party leaders, we can sit down. I've opened my hands to the ANC. I said, let's sit down and talk. Even Twala, I think I've engaged with Twala, 2 days ago. We are talking about how we stabilize the municipalities in KZN in general. That's a feeling we have as leaders, but it's unfortunately the ANC is running away from those discussions.
Zwakele, what do you understand to be the driving factor behind the ANC's removal or recall of its mayor?
Cathy, what I'm getting, I'm not saying it's factual, because it's just what is said from the ground. I have no facts. It's an issue that they are alleging that the mayor is corrupt. That's what the ANC is saying. In fact, it's on record, and they are saying that. But all we know, there has been an issue over here in that municipality where there's so much looting when it comes to a public coffers. So they run a mafia style. Casey, let me tell you, I think it was one of the meetings where the mayor was supposed to be resigning that meeting. There were big machines, guns around the chamber. Even councillors of sections, they couldn't continue the meeting because they were so scared. It's more like it's a mafia style of leadership where it would bring those big ammunition around the chamber, inside the chamber. So you can't then say it's still in a democratic country where you've got council meetings where people come with big guns in a meeting and show it off, where they even stop other councillors from entering the venue. So it's just something that says it's an issue of leadership. Unfortunately, one doesn't understand why culture has not done anything about this municipality for so long.
Sure, Zwakele, part of it, sounds like scenes out of a movie. Unfortunately, however, we're getting more and more cases of such scenes playing themselves out at local municipalities, especially within municipal offices and municipal chambers. But, it's surprising to me that this kind of behavior is perpetuated and there doesn't seem to be, again, any clear action or position that is taken by political parties around what their representatives in municipalities are actually doing. Dion, let me, Stay, let me come to you and perhaps give you the opportunity to speak to what you understand to be happening in the KwaDuguza municipality. You've, of course, already said you're not going to be supporting your partner. I almost said your alliance partner, but, not quite alliance partner, but governance partner when it comes to trying to reinstall a new mayor in KwaDuguza. In fact, you're now pushing for the removal of the speaker there.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Again, I believe that one is the lack of service delivery in that municipality. That's number one. Number two is that the ANC and its arrogance, they themselves decided to remove the mayor on their own. They even put a motion, a vote of no confidence against the mayor because the mayor refused, I believe, to tender his resignation from the position. So there is a coincidence where there is a motion of no confidence against the mayor from the ANC side and a vote of no confidence against the speaker from the DA side. But here is the reason. In terms of Section 53 of the Structures Act, clearly determine the roles and responsibilities of the mayor and the speaker. And the duties and responsibilities of the speaker is to do oversight in council and to ensure accountability, integrity, as well as effective running of council. The fact that in KwaDuguza it's been a year without a deputy mayor, then it's a problem with the speaker. The fact that now the ANC is trying to remove its own mayor, even go as far as putting a vote of no confidence against its mayor. Now it tells you that there is a problem, and the problem is within the ANC and its arrogance. One of the things is that I'm hearing Zokele saying that us as the DA, we are part of the problem because we haven't replaced the position of one of our EXCO members. But Zokele will then recall that you've got a very better understanding and a relationship with an ANC that has started in Pretoria, where you removed the DA mayor. So we're expecting you and Action XSA to call the ANC into order and be able to glue the relationship between yourself and the ANC, ensuring that that municipality is taken care of. I agree with Mongezi from the AFF side that there is a problem with the leadership, that the ANC is actually failing and believing. The ANC is also got a belief that they are still in a majority in government spheres. They're forgetting that they are no longer a majority in these spheres of government. And therefore they need to start to respect other political parties, and they need to start building a relationship, a stronger relationship, to be able to have a government that will deliver to our people.
Are you saying that the ANC hasn't done this with you in that particular municipality?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, as one said, that in that municipality, they run that municipality as a mafia style. And the other thing that we've picked up is that they're removing the mayor just because there are there is what we call ANC factionalism within that region, where others want to put their own mayor so that they will be able to have an access to extort the municipality, because all these infightings are not about to say they want to deliver services to the people of KwaDukuza, but these infightings are about it's our turn to eat before we move out of government. The ANC is sensing that they are about to move out of to be kicked out of government. They've seen this movie played in front of their face during the 2024 elections on May 29. Now they do have a sense that in 2026 they might not come back. So those who have promised to get something from the municipalities, that each will be tenders, now they can sense that they're not going to get their tender to eat. So they rather start removing the leadership that is there now, so that they can be able to have a piece of pie before they lose those municipalities.
Okay.
So the Democratic Alliance, we've done almost everything to ensure that that municipality is getting back to its feet. But unfortunately, due to the ANC failure and the poor leadership of the ANC and not to understand the importance of delivering services to our people, that is why they also believe that they need to remove their own mayor instead of sitting down and finding out what is the problem. It talks to the lack of the leadership of the ANC across the province and at the national, because we will then expect that if the provincial leadership cannot be able to assist in solving the problem, the leadership should chip in and be able to solve these problems.
I'm going to pause you there. It's time for the latest news headlines. We'll continue with Municipal Watch shortly.
Thanks, Cathy. A very good morning to you. With the news headlines, Ke Modupi Makgalemele. A number of learners from a school in Gauteng have been taken to various health facilities with suspected food poisoning. The two brothers implicated in the killing of rapper Keenan aka Forbes have filed an appeal against their extradition to South Africa. And analysts believe that South Africa's crime intelligence has improved in the past year. The full news update at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 17 rand 71 to the dollar, 23 rand 02 to the pound, and 19 rand 23 to the euro. Markets in Asia were red across the board at the closing bell. The JSE mainly mixed in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are higher this hour. Gold is trading at $2,681, platinum at $996 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $74.02 a barrel.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
All right, so we're focusing on the KwaDukuza municipality for Municipal Watch this week. One very much gets the sense of an impasse, a political impasse, not only within the ANC itself, as the mayor is refusing to vacate the position as per the recall by her party. But then you also have the broader impasse around how exactly the ANC is going to constitute a government in this particular municipality. Of course, the ANC right now has the majority share of the votes in the particular municipality, has about 29 seats in the Kwaduguza municipality. The DA, the second largest at 9 seats, followed by the Independent Alliance, Action SA, both 5, and then of course the rest of the share split between IFP, EFF and some smaller parties. So the ANC previously able to form a government with the assistance of the AIC and the ATM. So let me bring into this conversation now Dion Viljoen. Dion is the chair of the Dolphin Coast Residents and Ratepayers Association. Dion, as residents of Kwaduguza, what do you make of the recent developments around the mayor, but also what is your sense of service delivery in that particular municipality?
Hi, Cathy. Good morning, and to your listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. I think our biggest challenge in Kwaduguza is politics and politicians that are not doing what they were elected for to do. So we've got a council that is currently very dysfunctional, and it's not been very functional for quite a while, certainly since the election, because the majority party, or the party that's got the most votes, has got a lot of factions and infighting, which is why they couldn't decide on a deputy mayor. I think that there were many attempts to get an agreement on a deputy mayor, and they failed for the last 18 months. And now we have a mayor that's been withdrawn that refuses to go. And the municipality still hasn't received the official announcement of a withdrawal from the ANC, so only press releases. And she is now resisting that and so on. So, and then we've got the opposition parties. So as residents and ratepayers associations, we are immensely frustrated with council, which is the leadership and oversight structure for the municipality. And what's happening at the moment is portfolio meetings are not happening. You've heard executive committee meetings are not happening. Internal audit meetings are not happening. The Auditor General is there at the moment doing audit. But I do want to separate out the actual administrators of the municipality. We've got a pretty successful municipality comparatively to the rest of KZN. It's a viable municipality. It's got reserves. It's got lots of executive directors and divisions. So our service delivery is nowhere near what it should be. It's probably sitting at about 60% or say 65% somewhere there. And we definitely need better leadership and better oversight. And we as Residents Ratepayers Association are doing our darndest to assist with that. But if you have a political structure, the council, that becomes dysfunctional, and you go to a council meeting and the matters arising list becomes longer than the actual agenda list because things are being carried over for more than a year, or a lot of things get postponed, like our current IDP and stakeholder engagements where the community needs to be engaged around the IDP, is now just suspended indefinitely because of the political impasse that we currently have.
How invested is the DA in the next phase of what must happen in Kwaduguza? So are you at a point now where you're wanting to strike some kind of deal with the ANC to try and install a new mayor?
I hope they are doing those things. We as Residents and Ratepayers Associations are proudly non-political, non-racist, so we independent, and we are pushing for a council to get itself organized. Now, whether that is through the current employees that are there, or we're going to get some new, or we're going to have a new style hopefully some new style kind of executive committee coming in will be great. But to us, the important thing is get your act together.
Okay.
You've been voted in. Do your job. Start doing leadership and oversight. And we've written to COPTA. We've putting out some press releases shortly about our frustration. So we're not leaving any stone unturned. We're pushing very hard as a community, and we've got a very strong civic organisation in KwaDukuza.
All right, Dion, I'm going to pause you there. Ste, my question to you, how invested is the DA in terms of the next steps? Do you want to form a government, or are you trying to push that the ANC forms a government with you in the KwaDukuza municipality, and that it is potentially a partnership between the two of you that will see the installment of a new mayor there?
Thanks, Kat. I think the problem that we have as a Democratic Alliance is the ANC leadership, especially in the province as well as also in the regions, where when you're talking to them, trying to make sense on how to run the government, you recall that we also got a clean record on how we understand on how to run the municipalities or government spheres. We've got a very good experience. We've tried to make sense with the ANC, but the ANC is giving us a cold shoulder. And that is why
what is trying to make sense? Give us a bit more details. What have these meetings been about? Where are you not seeing eye to eye?
Firstly, it's running the day-to-day government business, and in terms of service delivery, in terms of how the committees should be structured within the municipality in order for the municipality to be able to deliver services to our people. But then because the ANC itself and its leadership, the intention is not to deliver services to people, as I said before, but the intention is to ensure that they milk the municipality before the municipalities before 2026. And therefore, they want to impose the what we call the candidates that need to stand in those positions. They want to restructure the municipality in a way that suits their agenda, so that they can be able to have access in tenders, they can be able to have access in government funds before their time is up. And that becomes a problem with us, because our intention is to ensure that the government be able to deliver services to our people. Hence, on their side, they always after money. So then we then have a problem with that. And then we said, okay, fine. If you are not willing to come on board, if you are not willing to sit down with us and draw up a plan on how to run the municipality, you want to do things on your own and impose to us, that's not how we're going to operate. That's not how we operate. So, as I said, that with the ANC arrogance, we foresee many problems, especially in that municipality.
So that means that you were then having negotiations with the ANC about potentially helping them install a mayor in KwaDukuza.
Not specifically in KwaDukuza. We're talking broadly on the municipalities across the province and across the country, but we didn't get anything positive from them. So at no point now, as the Democratic Alliance, we can say we can co-govern with the ANC, especially in KwaDukuza. But nonetheless, because they forge a new branch with the Action SA, perhaps there are negotiations that are ongoing with them. I don't know.
Zwakele, what does the future look like at this point? Any negotiations between yourselves and the ANC?
Yeah, firstly, Cathy, one must say it's disappointing that when we are leaders, we don't want to take responsibility, accountability as well. There is something that State is running away from. That we've got 10 executive committee members in KwaDukuza. The DA has failed to fill up their own position on ESCO. That's like a board of directors in the municipality. They are responsible to run the municipality day to day, like MMCs in other municipalities. Here, we've got a committee. But the DA is not answering the question. For 3 months now to 4 months, they have not filled the position on executive committee. No one can fill it. It belongs to the DA. The DA is not filling the position. So if they are so serious about what Duguza and the challenges there, why they are not filling up that position? And Stay is not answering that question directly.
Let me
There's
give him a
issue of
chance to
accountability.
answer. Let me give him a chance to answer that question, Stay.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. I think, Zwakele, you are missing the point. The question is that, are you in talks with the ANC?
No,
to
Stay.
try and install the municipality?
No.
But if you
Answer the
your
question,
straight,
yes.
is that we are going to fill our position. Remember that soon after elections, we were clouded with the by-elections. So we have to run the by-elections and to ensure that we win those by-elections. After winning those by-elections, then soon we are going to ensure that that position is
When is soon? Because these positions, as Zwakele is stating, have been vacant for months now.
I wouldn't give a specific date, Kat, but what I know is that according to the chairperson, he said that position is going to be filled. Because remember that the caucus in that municipality need themselves to elect, in terms of the caucus rules of the DA in that municipality, the caucus itself need to elect the caucus leader, and the caucus leader will then go to
Yeah,
to
but
represent
Stay,
the DA.
surely in a municipality already dysfunctional as Kwaduguza is, the absence only creates or exacerbates the vacuum that the municipality is already facing, and as far as leadership is concerned.
Yeah, as I said, that in terms of our caucus rules in that municipality, the caucus itself needs to elect the caucus leader. And then automatically the caucus leader will then go and represent the DA.
So how long is that process going to take?
I think on Friday we are having PMC, and the Provincial Management Committee will then take a decision on that, and then immediately it will then be communicated with the caucus leadership in that municipality, and then we will install the EXCO member. I don't think it will take even a week or so.
Okay. Zwakele, back to you then. You heard the answer to the question. Now answer my question. Are you in talks with the ANC?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, we are opening up our hands to engage with. As I said, I spoke to Twala 2 days ago. I also had an engagement with Mtolo. I think it was on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. We are engaging, Cathy. We are opening up our arms. We are saying we want to save what was a municipality. There is no way we can sit back when the municipality is collapsing. But I must say, what is unfortunate, when I engaged with Mtolo, for example, they've been engaging with the DA. I don't know why they can't be honest. They've been engaging, but what the DA is saying, they are saying they will only help ANC in Kwaduguza if ANC bring in Tswane. That's what DA is saying. In fact, Dean said that's on record. It's on the newspaper. Dean said they won't support the ANC in Kwaduguza because of Tswane issue. So we are saying at Action SA, we can't hold Kwaduguza to ransom because of other areas. So we are saying as Action SA, we are opening up our arms. We are prepared to assist in that municipality. If the ANC come tomorrow and say, let's discuss how to stabilize the municipality, we are ready as Action SA to assist and make sure that the residents of Kwaduguza receive services, because our interest in the main is about ensuring that the services delivered to our people in Kwaduguza.
Mongezi, can I make a comment?
Sure, Dean. Is it Dion? Is it Dion on the line? All right. Dion, I'm going to give you a chance in a moment, okay? Just hang ten for me.
Okay.
Mongezi, the EFF's position in all of this, you and Zwakele have been talking quite a bit. Does that mean that any potential then formation of constitution of governance in Kwaduguza will include Action SA, EFF, other parties? What is your thinking around it right now?
No, Cathy, before I give you an accurate answer, one will say our people very soon, they are going to associate themselves with us as political parties. And the political quagmire that is happening in Kwaduguza, it cannot happen that we as political parties and leaders fold our arms and not take action into bringing that municipality into stability and also having a healthy municipality that is able to respond to the issues of the people, the destitute and the downtrodden in the district of KwaDukuza at large. Also, we are not going to be exonerated when it comes to the issues of dysfunctional municipality. When we as political parties have a role to play, we are going to give ANC our votes. We are going to form a government with the ANC in KwaDukuza, but especially on ensuring that no one hold the municipality at ransom. We are not part of the we are not an extension of the ANC. We are not spokespersons of the ANC. They must come here and account, or any other platform to account to the people of KwaDukuza. But we are giving our support to them because the democracy is the democratic situation is such that they in KwaDukuza, ANC has the majority of councillors. So we must give them power to continue to run that municipality, and we are going to put stringent measures on ensuring that we monitor the ratepayers' money, which must go to the community to service the community of KwaDukuza at large. We are not engaging only on KwaDukuza. There are so many municipalities, as I've indicated before. Zwagele has also indicated before, we're in having talks, and we're going to also open this dialogue to many other political parties, that we cannot have this kind of a situation where our people, they elect leaders and we cannot now run the municipalities in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. You have Newcastle, a number of municipalities. I just received a call again now, Tugela District Municipality. There are internal squabbles in the IFP. The IFP can't fill a vacancy of a deputy mayor. In Newcastle, I also received a call just now. They are having a council meeting. They can't elect a chief whip. They can't elect a deputy mayor. So it's happening across the province of KZN. Even in municipalities that are run by the DA, they are not stable. This is what we as political parties, we must follow our pride and know that they were given a responsibility to serve our people, not only to self-enrich or only to forever bring our own political squabbles into the fore or on the public domain. But we have a responsibility of ensuring that with the votes that we got and the support that we got, we must formulate a healthy government that is going to respond to the issues of the community. It's so disturbing to have IDP that is meetings that are cancelled indefinitely when people are expecting services in the areas of KwaDukuza at large.
All right.
To be precise, we are going to engage. We have engaged with the ANC. We are supporting the ANC to remove the mayor who is holding the municipality at ransom. We cannot allow such a situation. We are not in part of any political squabbles and internal squabbles of the ANC, but we are for the interest of the people, and we are for our people to ensure that they have a healthy, smooth running municipality of KwaDukuza.
Mongezi, thanks for that update. And as you hear there, the door broadly opened, right? Lines of communication between the ANC, the EFF, Action SA around potentially establishing even more governance frameworks outside of just the KwaDukuza municipality. Dion, let me come to you.
Yeah, I think you yourself and the listeners will agree with me. We have a political impasse.
Yeah.
Our council is dysfunctional, not our municipality. Our municipality is functioning, not good enough, and we're certainly working at improving it. But we have water, we have waste removal, our roads are being fixed, our accounts are balanced, our bills are paid, and we've got reserves. So that is a well-run or a decently run municipality. Certainly, there are a number of challenges that we've got to resolve. But our biggest problem is our council that is if I had to rate our municipality, I would give it, as I said, a 60 or 65%. Lots of room for improvement. But if I have to rate our council, our politicians that are supposed to provide oversight, leadership, look at governance issues, strategy, that is functioning at 30% or less. And that is unacceptable because we as voters have voted those people in, and we want them to get together and work together as a proper oversight structure. And that is what's frustrating the residents and ratepayers. And we will continue our vigilance, we will continue our representation and our input on all the structures where we can, despite the various frustrations, and hope that the politicians can soon stop making promises and platitudes and get their act together and start doing the work that they were elected for.
Dion, thank you so much for that perspective as the chair of the Dolphin Coast Residents and Ratepayers Association. I also want to bring in the views of some of our listeners for this particular conversation.
Good morning, Cathy. This is Mohlahlana from Pretoria. I tend to agree with your speaker about ANC losing the plot. I think they think that our tax and everything in South Africa belongs to them. And that's why they're hoarding on things and they want to control everything. They can't even share any power, any control. It's madness. It doesn't make sense. I mean, they must just go back to basics and just understand it's not about them, it's about the masses. They must rethink what they preached to us before 1994. It's not about them, it's about the masses.
Good morning, Cathy. It's me, Tamik Becker. Let me tell you this exclusively. You know why Lindiwe Kganga is being removed as a mayor of KwaDukuza? She is removed by her own party, ANC. Because she refused to pull the strings and have those big tenders being given to ANC people. And that made her a biggest enemy to KZN, SG, Siboniso Duma. So all these commotions, topsy-turvy crusades are made by Duma to remove Lindiwe Kganga. Lindiwe Kganga has been very strict on how the funds are used. As you know, the ANC, they want to loot. Lindiwe Kganga said no. So all this smear campaign have been going on for the past 6 months or so. Duma wants to put in his own puppet, Njabulo Cele. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you to our listeners for that perspective. Certainly, Tammy there seems to have a bit of inside info, at least based on the perspective that he's sharing. Of course, how true it is at this point, we don't know. But I guess maybe to echo the position that Dion shared is that what you have is a political impasse, and residents now are the ones that are likely to bear the brunt of the politics, not only politics within the ANC, but politics outside of the ANC, because when they're done with themselves, they still have to come back to council and get partners that they will be able to form a government with. Ste, let me come back to you. This idea that the DA is also wanting to hold the ANC ransom, that you're making unreasonable demands and wanting to win battles that you have lost in other municipalities, in other parts of the country, that you're using it as political bargaining chips. Is that true?
I think that's Mwango's view, because what's happening in KwaDukuza, I said it, and I'm glad that one of the listeners also touched on what I've said, that the KwaDukuza issue, it's about tenders. It's about who must occupy that position so that the ANC, the different, the other part of the ANC faction will then be able to benefit before 2026. Now, we cannot, as a Democratic Alliance, allow the ANC to steal from the public funds in order to enrich themselves. And as I said, that we have managed to sit down with the ANC to try and to make sense with them. But we couldn't win that war. So it's not about what's happening in other municipalities. Yes, Zwakele did agree that they do have a relationship with the ANC, which is good then. They're working hand in hand, which is good then. Also, he must also consider the fact that if the ANC continue the way they are, and then they're going to bankrupt that municipality, and that municipality come 2026 will be on its knees. And that's what we are trying to avoid as the DA, and that is why we were saying, let's have a roundtable discussion around these municipalities and see if we can be able to find an amicable solution to benefit our voters, our ratepayers, and also to increase the economy of the country.
Of course, the other option states that you could work with all of the opposition parties in KwaDukuza. That would get you enough votes just to see you over the line? Is that not an option?
It will also depend on what. Remember that when people are going to these discussions, what they don't say on air is their demands. And when we come to boardrooms, that is where people start to reveal their true colors and having demands to say, if you don't give us this, we are not going to support you. And as it happened in Itswane, that is why the Action SA today, they've got a mayor, because of the demands that they made on the table before supporting the ANC. So it's all good when people are talking in public, but they hide to say they are also want to benefit in these positions when they are discussing it.
Zwakele, when are we expecting this matter to be resolved? When is the vote in council going to take place? At least vote of no confidence, or at least the vote to remove the mayor, and then also to get a new mayor in place?
Yeah, Cathy, as Action SA, we are ready for talks. As I said, we are just waiting for the ANC. They are a bigger party there. They must lead the talks, but we are opening our arms to engage with them. But I must say, Cathy, it's very strange that the chairperson of the DA in the province is on record on the News 24. It came, I think, 2 days ago. It's on record where he said they won't support the ANC in KwaDukuza because of Tshwane. So unfortunately, you've got someone in the studio today to present the DA, but doesn't know what his own chairperson has said on record. So it's not like it's Zwakele saying it. It's chairperson, Dean McPherson. But also, the issue of a DA always claiming other parties can't work with the ANC. They are in GNU with the ANC. They are having a relationship with the ANC in a Tegwini municipality. But when others are working with the ANC, then they got an issue with that. So for me, it's more hypocritical for a DA to expect that everyone will do what the DA wants. So we are here to serve our people in KwaDukuza. We are prepared to engage, including the DA. We are prepared to engage with any parties. We are not putting any demand for positions. Yes, if we are being offered any positions, we discuss that position.
Okay.
But for us, firstly, stability in KwaDukuza. That's what we need in the main.
All right. Zwakele, Mongezi, Ste, Dion, let me thank you all for your time. Of course, it would have been great to hear the ANC put its side of the story on record, but as we said, they simply refused to come on.
The top stories at 11 o'clock. More learners are hospitalized with food poisoning and an improvement in SA's crime intelligence. A very good morning. A number of learners from a school in Gauteng have been taken to various health facilities with suspected food poisoning. The students are from the Mshuluzane Mayisela Primary in Zitobeni near Bronkhorstspruit. They're reported to have eaten some snacks. In a recent incident in the province, 6 children died in another suspected food poisoning incident in Soweto. Meanwhile, the parents of learners at Makhaji Secondary in Verena, Mpumalanga, are calling on education authorities to intervene following yet another suspected food poisoning incident involving over 20 learners. Cathy Mohlahlana is one of the parents.
I would like the Department of Education to inspect the food stuff that are sold to learners, because I asked the ones that I transport why they are eating acha, at home they don't want to eat pap in acha. They said, no, we eat milk at home. So it will be better if the Department of Education make pap and milk for these learners.
The two brothers implicated in the killing of rapper Keenan aka Forbes have filed an appeal against their extradition to South Africa. Siyabonga and Malusindi Mande have filed papers against their extradition from the Kingdom of Eswatini in the Manzini Magistrates Court. They've raised security concerns as the reason for their appeal. The brothers are accused of killing AKA and his friend Tebello Tibbs Mutswane outside a restaurant in Durban last year. The Ndimande brothers were arrested earlier this year in Mbambani, Eswatini, and charged with 4 counts of murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Crime and violence analyst Chris de Kock believes that South Africa's crime intelligence has improved in the past year. He was reacting to the arrests of 4 more suspects in connection with the murders of 18 people in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape last month. The arrests were made in Port Shepstone, KZN, yesterday. The first suspect to be arrested in the matter abandoned his bail application in court on Tuesday. De Kock says the rise in swift arrests shows that police are infiltrating criminal syndicates.
I don't want to be too optimistic, but it seems there's a change and that we see significant arrests, and we sometimes see arrests very quickly after incident, like Lusikisiki now. But I think also one must remember the police were under tremendous pressure to have some arrests because this was such a bad incident. But I think crime intelligence is starting to get their act together.
Members of Parliament are expected to demand answers from President Cyril Ramaphosa on the allegations against the Justice Minister Thembisi Simelane during a question and answer session in the House this afternoon. Simelane received a loan from the now defunct VBS Mutual Bank during her tenure as Polokwane mayor. Other issues include Mohali City's leakage of untreated sewage into water. Meanwhile, the municipality, which includes Krugersdorp and Magaliesburg in Gauteng, has 14 days in which to elect a new mayor. This follows the resignation of the ATM's Denny Tupani, who resigned yesterday ahead of a vote of no confidence in him. Rise Mzansi's Tebogo Mwalusi says this presents an opportunity for a fresh start.
Whilst the resignation of Councillor Tupani will not single-handedly resolve the many service delivery emergencies facing Mogale City's residents, it offers an opportunity for a fresh start and a chance for the municipality to reboot and refocus on the needs of the community until voters are able to elect new leaders in 2026. We further urge residents to demand better services from their ward councillors in the incoming mayoral committee.
And the family and friends of 2 brothers who've served more than 30 years in prison in the U.S. For murdering their wealthy parents have made a public plea for their release. Eric and Lyle Menendez were jailed for life for shooting their parents, Kitty and Jose, in 1989 at their home in Beverly Hills. The brothers say they committed the crime in self-defense after enduring years of sexual abuse. The top story at 11 o'clock, a number of learners from a school in Gauteng have been taken to various health facilities with suspected food poisoning. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
After an impressive run in their first 5 matches of the 2024-25 season, collecting 18 points each, both La Rochelle and Bordeaux-Bègles are pumped up with high energy and eagerness to elevate their winning mentality to the highest level. Witness the collision of 2 giants, the top 14 rugby contest between La Rochelle and Union Bordeaux-Bègles on Sunday, 20 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
And we went
went on a water safari and Mom spotted a hippo and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Bayern München are not just about singing their club anthem, Star of the South. They want to maintain their unbeaten run while their visitors, VfB Stuttgart, plan to live up to their slogan, fearless and loyal. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the nail-biting clash between Bayern München and VfB Stuttgart this Saturday, 19 October at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Hey, Cathy, did you just say ANC recalled the mayor and the mayor is refusing to leave? Yeah, ne? Yeah, I go South Africa. Politicians, she refuses to leave. Yeah, ne? Kunzima, katika mwana baba.
Oh, Cathy, it's quite scary listening to these egos, and they are not even scared to come on a national platform to display that they don't care about the citizens. It's frightening, and until we professionalize the municipalities or the government in general, we will see this thing repeating itself over and over again. It's all over the country. It's the same thing. Remember now, without the masters and the degrees and all these things, every Tom and Dick can just contest and cause chaos. But now it's very difficult to acquire education, and you will eliminate the dead wood by professionalizing this thing.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Municipalities like that need to be dissolved. Then they must do like re-elections again. Because now it's about like who's gonna hold which positions. To them it's about greediness. They are being greedy. They just want position. They don't care about the people. It's either me like their way or highway. They must not dissolve the municipality now because like seriously. All they care about is the money that goes into their pockets. Dissolve this Dugusa municipality. Thanks.
Hi, Cathy. You're speaking to Anonymous from Tzaneen. I wanted to tell you that the municipality in Tzaneen, they are busy fixing the roads. Ever since people are celebrating more than 200 days of no load shedding, we had load shedding in Tzaneen from 5 to 7 in the morning and 5 to 7 in the evening every day. It only stopped when Tito passed away because the funeral will be held there. So in the past 3 days, there's no load shedding, and they are busy fixing the potholes that were there in the past year or so. Thank you.
Good morning, Cathy and SAFM listeners. Cathy, I've got 5 things with me that I so wish that all the politicians, political party, if they were wrestling about them, wanting to kill one another for fixing them. It's water, it's drugs, it's electricity, it's children dying, and all the other things. But you don't hear politicians wrestling like this about it, but they're only wrestling about changing the name. Thank you, Cathy. Have a good day.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, thanks for those WhatsApp voice notes. Always interesting to hear your particular take on the conversations that we're having on the show. Yeah, to the resident out in the Tzaneen municipality, how many times have we seen that, right? So it won't just be the load reduction that stops, expect and anticipate potholes, especially within a 20-kilometer radius of the house, or of the main road that leads to the house, to also be filled and patched and blocked. I don't know why our municipalities do this. It is behavior that they have become accustomed to, right? And unfortunately, in this instance, it is over the loss of a life of an individual that has contributed so significantly to South Africa, right? Tito Mboweni did incredibly well for himself on a personal level. Imagine being 34 and rising to the kind of responsibility and position he was given as a Labour Minister at the time. But we see this. Even when when the president has to go to a particular area, when they know a minister is going to a particular area, suddenly we see that it's possible for potholes to be filled. We can see that it's not that the capability is not there. It can be done. The question is why it's not done on a regular basis. All right, our final conversation of the day. Nixon Katembu, he's our African Affairs Analyst and Language Specialist at Channel Africa Kiswahili Desk. Nixon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy. I hope I do not bring pothole to the conversation that we're going to have.
I'm not sure what you're going to bring after you waltzed into the studio. Nixon was basically waltzing into studio. We almost missed the cutoff time to start this conversation. See, now I have to throw you under the bus with our listeners.
The listeners understand that at least I'm not pothole averse to the situation, so they will understand.
Nixon, we're going to talk about the Africa defense ministers that have gathered in Addis this week, and it's for the defense conference. All of these conversations open off the back of a dialogue that was held a couple of weeks ago by the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, focusing again on peace and stability on the continent and how to foster an environment of, I think, just creating better stability for the continent. What are you expecting this meeting will accomplish?
I hope they will discuss the stability of the continent and be able to implement what they agree upon, the level of implementation being felt on the ground, and more particularly silencing the gun and deal with issues of security, because security is not just about the guns, about defense industry as a whole in terms of having soldiers and so on. Security is a broaden. There is human security, there is ecological security, there is a quite economic security, social security in terms of the human element to the broader concept of security. So when they discuss these issues, one would understand that, I think, from the element of defense security in terms of securing the continent, as it were, each individual country in terms of their confined border, and how that relate also to the security of other. We have a situation, for example, here in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, which speaks directly to the security of the SADC region by extension. And if you would recall that both the security of the region is interlinked. One need not to go any further to look at how our liberation movement took over power in the region through a concerted effort on both sides, from the frontline state up until to the last point of the liberation, which was South Africa in 1994. So you have to look at all. It's a multi-dimensional conversation I would hope that they are having in Addis Ababa at this point.
Nixon, let's look at where the biggest conflicts on the continent are currently situated. You've mentioned what is happening in Mozambique. Surprisingly, I don't know if it's necessarily surprising is the right word, but the conflict in Cabo Delgado is listed among those as being one of the biggest conflicts of concern on the continent currently. But let's talk about the other parts, the other areas and other conflicts that we should also be watching.
Well, the conflicts such as the Democratic Republic of Congo, which have been a recurrent and sort of a pain in our collective memories in terms of the security of the continent. You look at the issues of Sudan currently. Not only Sudan, but within Sudan, you have the South Kordofan issue in Sudan itself. And then you look at neighboring Sudan, which have also its own problem, but also South Sudan, between Sudan in the Nuba Mountain. Then you go further into Central African Republic, the Anti-Balak and the Seleka issue. You go to Chad, it's the same problem. And then you go to Mali. You know what is happening in Mali currently with the change of dynamics. But then Burkina Faso, Niger, you look at also on the border of Togo and Niger and Nigeria, and then you look at Nigeria itself as a country with the issue of Boko Haram and all these other issues that are coming up. In Senegal, the issue of Casamance wanting sort of auto independence have sort of muted, but it does not mean that the sentiment of those who want to create trouble and are done with. They're still there. Then you have Libya, which is a case that has been going on since NATO's invasion of that country, the toppling of Muammar Gaddafi, and now we know the reason why this guy, this particular president, was toppled because of kind of an ideological shift that he was taking towards, the continental economic standing in the world affairs. You go to the Horn of Africa, Somalia, within Somalia, the clan fighting, it has been there since the fall of Mohammed Siad Barre in 1992 up until to date. Then you have Somalia and Somaliland wanting to secede from Somalia as an independent state. You have Ethiopia, the Oromo issue in western Ethiopia. Then you have finally north, the Tigray region, which conflict has just been negotiated recently. Then you have other conflict that seems to be minor but having an impact on the security of the continent. Terrorism, for that matter, having an impact in countries like Kenya. You just a few years ago, you heard of the Mandera attack, where almost 162 students and teachers were killed, and there have been a recurrence of those issues happening in Kenya. Northern Uganda has been there with the issue of Kony. So I can go on and cite these conflicts.
And perhaps it's good that you have explained it in that way, because what it highlights is the ongoing nature of conflicts in different parts of the continent, and the inability to actually bring lasting solutions to these conflicts. So even when the African Union talks about silencing the guns and the need for continental solidarity in being able to do that, are we actually seeing that manifest itself in how these conflicts are unfolding? Is there any real change to how these conflicts have been unfolding?
I think much of what I can say is that maybe our leaders choose not to look at those conflicts thoroughly and the underlying factors that causes such a conflict. One of the major problems that we do not discuss is the issue of geopolitics and geoeconomics in fueling conflict, particularly with multinational corporations, an issue of resource on a continent. Sudan, for example, is one, I think the third or the fourth largest producer of gold on the continent, on top of oil. Now, you have, for example, Mali, which is also producing coal and diamond in large quantity. Then you have Burkina Faso, the same, and this discovery of oil, the Niger, Lake Chad Basin. You have Niger with its uranium. The Congo, coltan, 70% of the world cobalt deposit in that particular country, and over 70% also of world coltan in that country. They talk about 60, some stats shows 65, some say 72, depending on who have done the research and publish that particular research. Then you look at Cabo Delgado. Mozambique in itself, after the Renamo and the Frelimo conflict ended, we never knew that there was going to be a new conflict emerging. But the conflict in Cabo Delgado, interestingly, emerges on the onset of the discovery of natural gas in the very same area, and the investment of over $4 billion by Total and ExxonMobil. And you have to think, I'm trying to give this picture to show the level of the resource and the multinational corporational influence in fueling conflict.
But that's exactly what these states are not wanting to get involved in. That's exactly the conversation that they don't want to have.
But certainly they don't want to have, because you have to know one thing. A war and a conflict of such a nature benefit only multinational corporations and those in power who are benefiting through kickbacks. Let's not beat the bush around that. So, another aspect to this, for a conflict like the DRC, is what I would term, and I'm coining this term in my own way of understanding the conflict in the DRC, what I would call a laundry machine for dirty money. In other words, when there is no lack of state institutions and there is a conflict and there are minerals that you can buy, it's easy to send laundered money to countries like the DRC, buy gold with, send it to the international market, and there you have washed your money. And that's what multinationals and many other individuals involved in the business transaction of these conflict minerals are doing. They do not want to talk about it. Although some of the economics and research being done demonstrate otherwise. So it's a conversation that we need to have, that once we discuss issues of security and defense on a continent, at what level are we engaging? Having said that on the economic level, then you look also at the security structures or the security architecture of the continent. And here I'm looking particularly with the defense industries. the defense industry on the continent is very weak, because all arms that are involved in securing our national borders mostly are dependent on the military industrial complex from Western countries or whichever countries that you go to, be it China or Russia. Africans, despite our natural resources that are critical in the manufacturing of these defense industries, we have not been able as a continent to establish a manufacturing sector in the context of a defense industry to produce our own, what I would say, arms manufacturing capacity to protect the continent. We had the Nile here, and I don't want to get into the politics of the Nile and how it is now. But when it produced the Royvax, the first ever helicopter in the world to be able to go forward and come backwards in a support combat, but also being able to fight. But if you ask Daniel how that, but also ties into the educational sector. Because if we need all these components of our defense on the continent, we also have to need brains. How far are we developing our aeronautics industry in terms of developing students to study aeronautical engineering?
If we are to look at military capability, which is one of the issues that this particular meeting is going to try and sort of dig a little bit into, which are the countries on the continent currently with the strongest military capability? So if you have to think about this question globally, of course, you're thinking the US, you're thinking countries like Russia, you're thinking China, you're thinking NATO, collective military prowess. You're not thinking the AU, or even that there is a military capability, a collective military capability from the continent. So maybe two-pronged questions: the countries with the strongest military capability, but also how the continent weighs up given what is happening elsewhere in the world.
Well, I don't want to,
Actually, I'm going to pause you there because we're edging towards the latest news headlines. I'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll come back to this conversation. It's just gone 11:30. Here's a look at your latest news headlines.
A very good morning to you. With the news headlines, Cathy Mohlahlana. A number of learners from a school in Bronkhorstspruit in Gauteng have been taken to various health facilities with suspected food poisoning. The two brothers implicated in the killing of a rapper, Keenan aka Forbes, have filed an appeal against their extradition to South Africa, and a judge in New York has sentenced Mexico's former public security minister, Genaro Garcia Luna, to more than 38 years in prison for taking bribes from one of the country's biggest drug cartels. And those are your headlines. A full news update at midday.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Cathy, Flores here from the Western Cape, man. Good afternoon to you and the professor. Cathy, I personally know that we as the continent of Africa has so much resources, minerals to our disposal. And we should be the richest continent on this planet. But the thing is, our leaders are too greedy and too selfish. That's why there's so much terrorism, there's so much conflict. And also needs to be said that it gets sponsored by Western world and the Europeans, because they all want to lay their hands on our minerals. We should be in a position to work our own minerals, and we should become that powerhouse economy. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
All right, and then Anonymous in Pretoria says, don't forget the Anglophone conflict that is unfolding in Cameroon. Our guest in studio, Nixon Katembu, Africa Affairs Analyst and Language Specialist at Channel Africa Kiswahili Desk. We're talking about the Ministers of Defense on the continent gathering in Addis this week, looking at united in peace, strong in security. And our Deputy Minister, that is Defense Minister Bantu Holomisa, will then be taking part in engagements with other African defense leaders, and some of the issues that they expected to touch on or tackle include counter-terrorism, peacekeeping and border security management, among others. So, Nixon, I was talking and asking about the military prowess, and the reason why this is important. If we can go back to the conflict in the region, Cabo Delgado, what will then happen is that SADC will meet, there'll be all of these sort of resolutions taken, memorandums of understanding being signed, and then South African troops have to be among those that are sent as part of a peacekeeping mission to that particular area. We've seen it also in the DRC. And so what I want to get a sense of, and what I want you to clarify for us, is the extent to which there is equal participation in these missions from across the continent.
Well, let's talk about the issue of equal participation. You would recall that South Africa's foreign policy is anchored at the protection of human rights and securing peace on the continent. And that's filtered into the national NDP, National Democratic Development, that we cannot develop in isolation of what is happening in our region, first, SADC region, and the broader continent. And you'd recall during the Mandela years and the Thabo Mbeki era years up until now, we're still angering on that particular. Hence, you see South Africa's involvement on the continent have been deliberate of bringing peace on the continent. And we should give it to the SNDF for men and women who are risking their lives on the continent. I've been, for example, in the DRC. I know how hard it is for you, Cathy, to be sent to a jungle like the DRC and to fight a cause for other African brothers there in that particular country. Same, we have seen it in Cabo Delgado and so on. But it is very important to look at what are the contexts in which these militaries are deployed versus the national interest that those countries, various countries have on the continent. You have, for example, Egypt. You asked me about the prowess of the militaries on the continent. Egypt is one of them, South Africa is one of them, Morocco is one of them. I don't want to rank them on what capacity do they have and so on. But look at what Egypt does. It's get much of its equipment, defense package from the United States, and solely to focus on containing the people of Egypt in terms of the Middle East politics, and you know what the conflict is going on in Israel and so on. So, in a nutshell, Egypt, you cannot say that is playing its role in Africa, as you would say. They have detached themselves from the idea of the likes of Gamal Abdel Nasser at the time in the early 50s, who had the idea of looking at the continent first instead of, focusing on. But also their national interest. For example, they're fighting with Ethiopia over the Grand Renaissance Dam. You have them now sort of developing a sort of a proxy conflict between Egypt and Ethiopia by supplying Ethiopia, Somalia rather, with the military component that Ethiopia seems to be not happy with, and after their misunderstanding on the issues of Ethiopia having a military base in Somaliland. So you have to look at all these aspects. But above all, is the political and the geopolitical structures and economic structures of the world, much of which dictate on what is happening on a continent right now. Say, for instance, the case of of the Sahel region. You know that France has been kicked out. The United States, which had a military base, the largest military base in Niger, has also been kicked out. And then you have those European countries which formed part of the peace mission, quote-unquote peace mission, which was in the region for over 5 years, and they never did anything. They have been kicked out. Now you have these countries who have got new partners to try to secure themselves, and now they are seen as rogue, states at the moment, in the eyes of the Americans, in the eye of France, in the eye of the European Union. But we in Africa, we goes along on who do we support, or who is supporting us. For example, at the moment there is a simmering economic problems that is going to happen between SADC countries through the development of the Lobito corridor. And this is particularly important for South Africa and the South African audience to understand that the Americans are building are assisting the government of Angola to build the Lobito corridor, which is the rail from Angola into Zambia, and now they are talking about linking it to Tanzania. By extension, that is going to cut South Africa's footprint in the SADC region because of the ports of Durban, ports of Richards Bay being undercut by this development. State interest, I alluded them to earlier. And you have to look at why is the US doing this? Having a military base in Botswana, wanting to open a new military base in Zambia, of which technically they are there now, even though President Hakainde Hichilema tried to deny it, but the Americans have talked about defense cooperations. So defense cooperations versus diplomacy. How are we engaging those discussions, particularly for our Minister of Defense that are meeting in Ethiopia? How will it benefit the security of the continent if you have a Western interference furthering their interest on the continent at the expense of continental peace and security? We don't often talk about that. And for me, when discussions happen, you hear defense expert and the military expert talking about it, but they don't look at the fundamental question: what is behind the economics behind conflicts, right? That dictate then the security element within borders of particular countries. As I alluded to, much of these conflicts are resource-based. It's not that the people of the DRC woke up yesterday and they just, oh no, we have spears, let us just stab each other and so on. Well, and besides that, I alluded to the defense industry. If you look at, for example, the cost of a mortar shell, it can cost over $50. One bullet of an AK-47 cost between $1 to $2, depending on which caliber of an AK-47 you're using and which manufacturer manufactured the AK-47. The same with the R4 here or R5, rifles. So you need to understand those dynamics that form conflict for our defense minister to discuss these issues. I think what need to be done to be able to look at, hang on, one, how do we consolidate our economic base as a continent, and ring-fence that for our own development, then develop a defense industry that seeks to secure our mineral resources and by broad our border within the continent, and then trade with the rest of the world on the basis of how secure we are. China is doing that. Russia have done that, and that's why you see the Americans are yapping, oh, Russia is an invader and so on. But they want to get hold of resources in Russia, because the idea of the Americans was to bring NATO closer to the Russians, break up that pieces the way they broke the former Yugoslavia and the Balkan state, and therefore after dividing that and get into Russian resources.
Are pumped up with high energy and eagerness to elevate their winning mentality to the highest level. Witness the collision of two giants, the top 14 rugby contest between La Rochelle and Union Bordeaux-Bègles on Sunday, 20 October at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Mubango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2. A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, ukovela panda. SABC2.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Good morning, Cathy. Africa suffers because there are two nations that are still in control of Africa, and that is France and Britain. I don't believe that dictators emerge in and of themselves, but rather these are proxies of these colonialists. They were that one step ahead in planning on how to keep their control over Africa. So if the ANC would rather focus on its own continent and exporting democracy in Africa, we would have a better Africa where we can trade with each other. Thanks. Lionel Woodbank.
All right. So, Nixon, we're getting to the end of our conversations. Are you expecting that there will be anything significant in terms of military alignment, cooperation amongst African countries post this meeting?
One would hope so, that there will be such, but unfortunately there are different directions that are emerging on the continent. Kenya is a country to watch with its defense cooperation with Britain and the US. South Africa in East starts on Israel, but also the politics on the continent, and then the West African region divided, as we know, or based on what is emerging there. So it's going to be. It will be interesting for them to come up with a security architecture that seeks to consolidate military and defense alliances on the continent to secure the continent. But I'm not overly optimistic about having such a resolution from that meeting.
Is there significance at all in this meeting?
There is a significance. As long as people are talking, they are able to engage and understand from one another on what needs to be done on the continent. But I would say this, for South Africa, let us support the defense ministry. I think it is doing a great job. And if there are politicians there who are listening, fund the NEL, fund the SNDF. You cannot have an economy without a defense capability to protect your economy, your industries. Otherwise, if you lose the NEL, you lose the capability of the SNDF, you are virtually averse to evasion or even manipulation from outside, because then once the military is weakened and the defense industry is lacking, everyone else can just dictate how your country goes in terms of foreign policy, and we don't want that.
All right, those are the views of Nixon Katembu, African Affairs Analyst and Language Specialist at Channel Africa's Swahili Desk. That's where we are going to leave it on the talking point for today. The show back with you again tomorrow between 9 and midday. Can you believe it? The week is over already. Where did the week go? I'm not sure. But of course, tomorrow we'll wrap it up in style as we always do with the Friday wind down. All right. Have yourselves a lovely afternoon. Stay tuned to SAFM for all your latest news and current affairs.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of A Life of Purpose, written by Luvuyo Wochela and Lumkile Wiseman Kuhlu. The reader is Lerato Mvelase.
Chekane had taken on the responsibility of showing Wiseman the ropes of government employment, drafted the conditions of employment, and negotiated the remuneration package. I must say, I was very pleased when the invitation came, because I always had great admiration for people who were working at Shell House and those in government at the beginning, because we knew that they were earning peanuts. I mean, Thabo Mbeki included, and many others. We were encouraging young professionals to join government, telling them that they should not only criticize, but also be prepared to get their hands dirty. Now, I was invited to come in. I couldn't turn down that invitation just for the mundanity of money. So I was faced with it, and I knew that I wanted to do it. Wiseman had joined the presidency at a critical time in South Africa's transition. The euphoria of Mandela's rule and the common rhetoric of reconciliation and national unity had abated. Pressure to deliver a better life for all was mounting, and there was already apprehension within channels of government about their ability to meet growing demands. Although the country had made significant progress in providing essential social services, the battle over the economy remained, and the reduction of poverty was barely noticeable. Improving the quality of education was also another challenge. The gear policy that started during Mandela's tenure was also essentially espoused by Mbeki's presidency, had triggered the restructuring of key public institutions such as Telkom and the DBSA, in which Wiseman had participated. But neither policy nor process had affected the high level of unemployment and low level of economic growth. It was also clear that the transformation of these institutions required high-level skills, something that Wiseman had highlighted in the mid-1990s. Thus, when Wiseman joined the presidency, there was apprehension of what had been achieved, but also impatience about the scale and scope of change. Thabo Mbeki had himself acknowledged many challenges while still deputy president in 1996 and the popular manifesto of his 1999 elections, pushing back the frontiers of poverty, indicated that his ANC-led government was determined to tackle them. Poverty remained clearly visible within the former homelands and in the townships. Homelands had been officially dissolved, but a large part of their legacies still remained. The executive became very aware that lack of capacity in government departments was a major impediment to service delivery, especially at the local government level. Wiseman participated actively in the